Ready to face your shadow and find your truth? This tarot reading reveals the hidden path through transition. Let's dive in. Greetings, soul seekers. Here we are once again, ready to take a look at something very key and important, and that is our shadow work. But our shadow work in times where it's crazy right now. I don't know about you, but maybe it's just me, but I feel like the world is in a major transition. It's shifting and splitting, fragmenting, and I am finding myself having to really go deep into who I am in all of this and really working through that. And that's why Soul Life Treasure Hunt has become so important in my journey for finding a way to navigate the crazy. And of course, if you're anything like me, you know that transitions are questioning what we feel is stable and safe, secure, things that are mirroring us. What is under the surface, the things that are under the water, so to speak, the undercurrents that are really dragging and pulling us through the waves of what we're seeing. It could be still on the top, but there's undercurrents. And I find that is so true, no matter where we are in our lives, that somebody you can have a conversation with and they can be saying things, but there's the undercurrent of how you're interpreting it, what's being unsaid, what you're feeling and intuiting through it, and vice versa. They're doing that with you as well. They're trying to get a sense of who are you, what are you really saying, do you believe your words, and where is truth? Truth is huge for all of us, and it is a key soul journey gift that we all are learning together to look at what is really true. And I don't know what your beliefs are, and I'm thinking it really won't matter. Not really. As we go through this together, because I have questions. I know I am knowing something isn't quite settled inside myself. And that is job one. What is it really that is bothering me so deeply? I could point to a lot of things. I could say this and that, and they and them, and me and you, and we're all in these turmoils of meanings and what is actually happening in the current day, what happened in the past, where we want to go for the future. There's so many things that we're all looking at. Where do we go from here? So in the moment of now, I'll ask you to just breathe in. Let's just bring everything into this moment of now. Bring in all the external stuff, the worries, the stresses, the concerns, the questions, the good, the not so easy and comfortable to deal with. Let's bring it all back to ourselves and into our heart centers as we really explore what this truly means. So, as you know, we have talked in the past about shadow work. And shadow work for most of us is looking at our relationship triggers, the shadow projections of what we're intuiting or sensing or wanting to see in others that is really kind of in our own agenda, but we're so good at seeing what is good or ill in other people and not really finding inside ourselves that goodness, or even sometimes that not as comfortable to face. So facing ourselves in our truth is a huge part of shadow work that I'm wanting us to really take a look at. So it's going to entail emotional triggers. Sometimes you are really going to feel the feels, as well as facing any inner child wounds that have not yet healed yet, that are thrusting forward. That could be from family and friends and teachers and society and just experiences that you have gone away from, and they still have power. What is this power base of those triggers is something that we can take a look at with Soul Life Treasure Hunt. I don't know where we're going with it. I just know that we have an opportunity, and this is what we're going to look at. So relationship healing, the conscious communication is what we're going to go forward with. Let's take a look at the Soul Life Treasure Hunt. I just always put these items, usually when I have my Soul Life Treasure Hunt just sitting here. I have this triangle, four-sided triangle that I put here. I know there's a special name for them. I've got them all over the house. They help to bring good energy. I don't know, but I'm all about it because I do feel the difference when they are cleansing the area and making sure that it's all in the most highest and best environment that I would ever be able to imagine, even higher than I could ever imagine. So I love that type of energy. So that's always on my desk. And then I always loved this one. This was like a gem. It reminds me of clear quartz. It's divine knowledge of all the oneness. Each one of us in each experience have different elements and aspects, but yet all together, we come together as beautiful creations of the highest and most divine. So I love all of those types of reminders that even if I don't always agree with someone on every topic, I don't have to worry because I have prayer. I have the ability to see what they're mirroring back to me. I also have the ability to learn from the experiences, from what they've presented to me, to grow even more. There's something inside of me. That's the beauty I see of the Phoenix, is even if you crash and burn and it's not really of your own choice, that only helps you to recreate a better, more powerful being of yourself, that you rise above the ashes of the situation and can see a higher viewpoint. It just helps me to be able to find a better answer on what is going on here. So if you're anything like me, this current time of transition and asking about the stability of what do we know, I know that many things are changing a lot. What I thought I knew has flip-flopped, and some people are saying that's completely wrong. This is the right way, which at one point I thought what they're now saying was wrong. So it's like this flip-flop that I'm having to contend with and understand. I don't know where you're at, but maybe that's something you're dealing with as well. And as we are in transition, how do we deal with our own shadow work? Because all of those things are external many times, and we could be actually transitioning inside ourselves. And so I'll invite you to bring yourself in and ask that question. You can journal on it. You can just sit quietly and listen to this, but ask your own highest and best, most benevolent, benign self that wants highest benevolence for everyone concerned, whatever side of the street or table that we're all sitting at. What feels opposite? What is truth? That's kind of a good one here. See how there's truth here? Then did you see all the many facets all around truth? That is an interesting concept for me as we look forward. What truths do you have to offer the world? What truths are being offered to you that you can glean and bring into your life and make better choices, make truer votes? If you have to vote for anything, you can truly find what is in your own conscience, that you are not allowing other people to be the dictator of how you say vote. You will vote based on what is truly within the alignment of what's at the heart of the matter. So this truth could be at the heart of the matter. What's true? What's really true? And it's got a lot of facets, a lot of aspects for us to evaluate. One of the things I'm going to mention about shadow work before we get playing on the board is that in my experience, shadow work is about opportunities. Opportunities to bring up and out the better self of ourselves. Sometimes I have experienced something coming out of me in the most desperate crises that I never knew I had this much power. I had this much clarity. I now know something about myself. So many times people want to make shadow work very negative. I have now more of a perspective of let's let shadow work bring to light the things that are true and not so much the fearsome things, the scary things, the things that we don't want to ever see because we don't want to have to admit that is true in us, not to the world. We might be okay with between ourselves and the divine, but let's really look at what is the truest truth about us. So that brings us to awareness, and awareness offers us the ability to change. That's what I love about tarot, is that even if the cards are laid out and you're seeing a trajectory that, oh no, that's not the trajectory I want this life of mine to go toward, you get that opportunity to see it and then to change it and say, okay, well then I need to make a change. Let's find the right change because I want to dial in a trajectory that is far better and more empowered and more aligned than what I'm currently doing. So that's one of the things. So it's all about self-empowerment, shadow work, transitioning into self-empowerment. What does that mean? Let's get going. I'm going to bring in the Millennium Toth deck, as we always do. And let's ask, what's going on here? I don't know about you, but sometimes all these opinions can make it feel like it's hopeless and you're stuck and there's no way to bridge the gap between all the various opinions. And yet so many of us really want truth. Look at that. That just popped up. 9 of Pentacles. 9 of Pentacles. So we are talking Venus and Virgo. So it's like seeing the beauty of life as it's organized into ways that are helping us. What I'm finding interesting is they've taken an odd number, a prime number, 9, and turned it into something that you can almost see 2 8s. You can see that there is a balance here. And that is really interesting to me. And pentacles, of course, are very earthy. So we're talking about the manifestations of what is happening on this earth. And you're part of this. So finding 9, which 9 to me is very much about the soul and the humanity, that if you were to go through all the various numbers and you hit finally that level of 9, you are seeing a broader array of what it took for you to get through the ego self, uniting with another person, being part of a unit, a tribe, a collective of what's the story going on in all of our united selves that we are all about. Where are we going forward together? What is this story that we can all relate to? Then you've gone through the 4, which you've created your own little home and environment and economy, micro economy. And then 5 is info central, and you're trying to bring it all together. You're trying to find ways to support the kids and the house and the economy and the business and the pleasures and all of the things is where I see 5 being heart of the matter, because it's all coming together and you're managing it, juggling it. And then 6 is where it's a higher level. It's where there are other services provided, the educations, the career moves, the support systems, safety and security would be part of that, with police and fire and human services, the medical needs of hospitals and doctors and nurses, and there's a lot of that up in there. And then in the 7s is just how does this universe work? How are the seasons and cycles impacting all that you're trying to create? What you do in the winter versus what you can do in the summer versus, you get the idea. Some people will look at the solar system and the orbits of the planets, and some people will look at the seasons and cycles, and others will look at other things. But that, how is it working? How does it all come together as a collective of all of us? Whether we believe the same way or do the same things, we probably don't. It is as a unit how we all come together and what we're all experiencing in this unity together at this moment in time. Then you've got the 8s, which is who's in charge, what governments, what big business CEOs are doing, where things are trending. And then you get to the 9s, which is what this is. 9 is you, at this point, looking at all of it and being able to give us some wisdom. What you know and what you see, or what you're trying to find out and see from a higher vantage point. So it's very different from 1, and it's higher at the soul level of 9, if that helps. Let's keep going. What does our soul want us to learn as we're looking, or balance? That's what I want to ask. What does our soul want? Balance. Soul wants us to balance this 8 of Swords. 8 of Swords. So there's the 9 of Pentacles. The soul wants us to really look deeply at our empowerment, our CEO side of ourselves. And Swords is thoughts. We're talking Jupiter and Gemini, the duality of this or that, the Jupiter of expanding and being able to see that there's lots of ways to cut through, but you got to get through this somehow. And how do you do that? Gemini has a lot of logic, and Jupiter has a lot of expanding and seeing things as they transition, and whether they are mirroring to us truth or just another way of being opinionated and trying to make either the world in your image, or are you trying to make the world a unified collective? Are you into the power? Are you into the benevolence of one and all? There's so many good questions, and that's what I see as the Swords. You're going to see all kinds of swords coming, other people's thoughts. And how do you find your way through to the real truth of what you're wanting? That's interesting. So we've got to balance that at a soul level. How do we do 8? How do we see ourselves in the midst of what is right now? This is what we can count on. This is the consciousness of who and what is true for us that we've seen before. We know this is true, and we're going to be able to call upon this to help us align with making it happy, knowing it's not always happy. What is it? Death. Wow, that's interesting. Let's take a look at it. In the Death card, something's got to go. Thought that was interesting. So in death, that old past has done its work, and it's really indicating that there's a lot of decay, that what we once knew and trusted is just it has not really much life unless we want to keep skeletons going and not deal with our own shadows and not deal with what is triggering us as we go forward. Wow. Okay. That's something we do need to look at. What do we have that needs to go? What are we needing to face and let it just perish? Because carrying it forward is just like dragging Harry all the way around the bases to get back home. And while that may sound kind of gruesome, but that's what many of us are doing. We're still dragging along all this past stuff that doesn't matter anymore. Instead of letting Harry sit, and really enjoy the game, we're dragging Harry along with us and just not able to be going forward fully in our own speed and in our own way, that we've somehow felt like we have to keep some type of whatever along with us. And what would that be for you? I'm thinking that we all need to kind of think about that. It's an analogy, so I hope you'll be able to make the connection that sometimes things that have gone, they're not really capable of going forward on their own, are being something that we have chosen that we're just going to keep carrying forward with us. That is something you may want to think about. What am I carrying forward that doesn't really need to keep going with me to make this current life aligned so that I'm feeling really in a joyful place? What more? What's the one more thing that will kick this 9 into a 10, which starts the whole next cycle going forward? Because sometimes we can't go forward because we're still stuck trying to make this have a life that doesn't have the capability anymore. It's got a different use of what its purpose is. So death often is very clean and it's stopped, and it's not going to be able to carry forward unless you carry it with you. And that's a lot of burden, a lot of responsibility. What's bringing this into our awareness right now? Remember, we were talking also about transitions. So that transitioning from life to death, what does that mean? Four of Wands. Four of Wands is the dove and the fierceness of the determined Aries potential. And that Wands is that fiery, inspired, co-creative arena of who we are and what motivates and drives us. And part of that is the drive to be motivated, but also the drive to keep things at a balance of peace, love, and harmony. I love that. Peace, love, and harmony. Can you have peace with what is no longer? Do you have love for what is? And can you harmonize all the various ways that are being presented? It's true if this is your tool. It's true if that is your tool. If this is your tool, then something else is true. What would that be? What if all of them need to come forward? And you got to find your way through it. How the outcome could be for us is Two of Cups. That whole joyous love, the Venus and the Cancer, home and love and caring, emotional fulfillment, dancing and joy and just unity. But how do you get from here to here using this and recognizing that there is this other arena of what you're conscious of? It's been true. I think I've seen how death has actually, of real physical people, has changed and transitioned my reality. And I've also seen how death of certain circumstances has really changed my reality. So let's take a look at a bridge card. What we can see is Seven of Swords. Interesting, beautiful card. But it is saying that finding your own, look at that. Let's put it this way. Finding your own power amidst all the various other opinions coming into your awareness. How you do that is going to be partly in the Aquarius being very unique and the moon being very intuitive and lunar in your ability to go deep into the shadows of who you are. Shadow work. There we go. And shadow work apparently doesn't have to be completely dark and, just like, that's scary. But no, it's empowering. It is an important part of how you're going to be able to take this and create from this all of this. Very beautiful. Whew. All right. Well, we're going to take a look at the shadow side, the underside of this deck. Ready? All right. What do you think is going to be here? What's going to be teaching us something from this reading? And it's the universe. Wow. So the universe is, all of this matters. Every bit of this, what you're going through, what you're feeling, what you're seeing, it is indeed part of the truth of who and what you are. And we all are. We're all co-creating together. We're looking to finish what this is and then start again. Remember the 9 would bring us back to a 1 where we get to start the next adventure. But in the meantime, having the ability to align with knowing that deaths happen, the joys happen, and we're able to bridge joy by making sure that it will get to love at some point, even if it's not completely here. And balancing this is really important. And this could be part of what we're looking at. If you're seeing a lot of thinking and thoughts and logic, maybe what we can all do is realize that there's a universe as part of this whole thing. It is all a universal truth that every transition will give us, whether it's external that drives us internal, or whether it's internal that we need to really get deep down with so that we can shift and transition the external and see it more openly, more uniquely, and have more love and joy for all the various ways that everybody's going at this thing called the universe. I love it. So I'm going to be going into the expanded version, and I wanted to show you some of the things that we'll be possibly looking at. I wanted to bring in the Rumi Oracle cards. I want to bring in the Secret Language of Light. That's hard. And Native Heart Oracle. And Energy Oracle cards. So we have a lot of different cards that we can pull from and get more answers as to how to do better with this whole lineup. This is nice and basic, and as you go through this video, you'll be able to really journal and get some deep answers from within. But we're going to keep going. We're going to have some more fun with this and some more deep inner reflections on what does this mean for myself, for yourself, as we look at this together. See you on the other side. Thanks for all your loves, likes, shares, and we'll have more information about the expanded readings and the membership down below. Thanks again.